Where's that small pill?
Hello, and welcome back to another Love Conversations. I think we agreed last time that we're no longer keeping track.
No longer keeping track.
Of which one we are on, because we're hoping to do these at least once a month for the foreseeable future. And so it just isn't practical. If you're joining us on YouTube or Facebook, it's so great to see you. We're also on Instagram and Instagram Live. We have invited our guests on there. We're just waiting for them to accept to see all of us on here. But if you're joining us on those, then we're so grateful to have you. And we hope that you guys have an awesome time with us tonight. Our topic is interesting. What do you think about our topic?
It can be offensive to some people.
Maybe a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, maybe a little uncomfortable, but it's good. I promise.
Yeah.
The topic is when God says no.
Yep.
Oftentimes we don't like to hear that. We don't like to hear that no.
We want to hear God's yeses or eventuallys, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes God says no, and he says no to people who allow him to do so, right? People who have said, okay, God, like whatever you want for my life, I'm wanting to listen, even if that means it's a little bit upsetting or uncomfortable, or if that means I have to wait for something. So we want to bring on our special guests right now. Hello. Oh, look, all matchy and stuff. How cute.
Hello.
How are you? Good to see you guys.
It's good to see you guys with us too. For those of you who don't know, Roger and Kathy are my parents.
Parentals.
Yes, they are the parentals.
Parentals.
And even though it's easy to invite them, obviously I just have to kind of beg and say, remember all those things that I did for you growing up? Yes, I would like for you to join me now.
That I did for you growing up. Not that you did for me growing up. That I did for you.
My mom's like, okay, remember who birthed you. Okay, I'm going to remember that. We were just talking in our small group about in the summer how my parents used to come up with all of the things for me to do that, like, not normal chores, like the chores that you don't normally do, like cleaning the blinds and the white picket fence with like a toothbrush, or like the sides of like the siding, like those things. But we're not going to get into that. That's not the topic for tonight. But we actually asked them because they have super interesting stories, both of them, that kind of brought them together, where God had said no to them on either sides. And so I was like, you know what? They're perfect for this, honestly. So we're happy to have you guys here with us. Thank you so much. For our viewers, go ahead and if you have any questions or any comments throughout, we're going to be looking at the different comments. So you can go ahead and put them on the side. But we want to begin with our first question. Mom, Dad, Roger, Kathy, when was a time that God said no to you, and what did you learn?
By the way, before we answer that question, should we connect here with Instagram or not?
Yeah, absolutely. We're waiting. We sent the invite on there as well. So those who are watching will see you guys on there also.
Okay. Yeah, I sent you a request, but I don't see. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you invited him.
Okay, there we go.
Got it?
Yeah.
You've accepted us in your video.
Hey, very good.
Do you have to mute one? Give us a second. We're going to mute this one here. You have to actually mute it. There we go.
There you go.
All right. Is all well? Everything's good?
Yes.
All right, awesome. No echo, no noise. All right, Roger, do you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
You want me to go first?
Yep.
Well, God has said no to me on many occasions, but at the same time, I think he has also said yes, probably equally as many times. But in relation to Love Potluck and the conversations that you all usually come on to listen to or be a part of, when it comes to relationships, I do remember one time, twice in particular, where God said no to me. There was one time where I really, really enjoyed I really, really liked this young man, and he was a great, great person. Awesome qualities, a person that I thought would be a good lifelong mate. But I remember clearly God telling me that that was not the person that he wanted me to marry at that time.
All right, God. All right, God. Yeah, God.
Praise.
And that was not easy for me to accept at the time, for myself or even for the young man that I was dating at the time. We both left very sad, and very confused, honestly, at the same time. Like, if it seemed like we were so good for each other, why was it so clear to me that that was not the case? The second time that God said no to me, when I was applying for college. I was going to be a nurse. I was originally wanting to study to be a nurse.
Mhm.
And while I was in my senior year at Blue Mountain Academy, I'm not sure if anybody out there is any Blue Mountain Academy graduates, but at Blue Mountain Academy, I had applied. After I graduated, they gave me a scholarship from Kettering College, and also from CUC, which is Washington Adventist University now. Kettering College told me, we've got all of these scholarships, and it was like a done deal. I was like, this school specifically is for nursing. I can't imagine why I wouldn't want to be there. The scholarships they're offering me are like, much better than anything else I've gotten. And I applied, and that was it. But time went on during that summer, and time went on, and I was like, I haven't gotten any like instructions or how to get there or when to show up or anything like that. So I was like, okay, it's like 1 week before I got to start school. Let me go ahead and give them a call. I called, and they said, we don't have you in our system. We have no idea what scholarships you're talking about. That gentleman that you're mentioning that promised all that to you, he was fired early this summer.
Word.
It was a week before I was supposed to start to go to college,
Lambo.
and I had nowhere to go. And so on Friday, that was like on a Monday or Tuesday. That Friday, I received a phone call from Columbia Union College saying, hey, Kathy Hernandez wanted to let you know, I'm sorry, Kathy Maldonado at the time, wanted to let you know that we've got this, we offered you the scholarship. We haven't heard back whether or not you wanted to accept it. Are you interested? And I was like, am I interested? Of course I'm interested. I want to go to college. Take me there. So then, and blessings upon blessings, not only did they give me that scholarship, they gave me others. Other needy student scholarships. So they were able to match what Kettering College was offering me, and I got to go. So literally that was on a Friday, and I was like packed and ready to go by the next week, and on site by that Wednesday. So that was a no that I was really disappointed about. And I thought to myself, man, I'm the first one to my family to go to college, and is God just telling me he doesn't want me to go? Does he not want me to go? But I ended up going to CUC. And bonus, I meet Roger Hernandez at Columbia Union College. So
Double bonus, you get your firstborn a few years later. So
so that is how that went. How about you, honey?
I think that a lot of times God's blessings come wrapped around rejection letters. I love to read about like the famous writers that have 157 rejection letters for a bestseller that nobody took a chance on, right? And Michael Jordan not making the 9th grade team. Does anybody know who the 9th grade coach was? Nobody remembers that person, right? But we all know Michael Jordan because he kept insisting and he made it. So one particular instance for me was a girlfriend that I like. Of course, I liked her because she was my girlfriend. And one day, before I took her to work, she dropped me like a sack of potatoes. She said, "I don't think this is gonna work."
oof.
And I'm like, well, I just brought you to work. Like, what do you mean? Like, you're not going to work today? He said, no. Like, this is not going to work. And she broke up with me right at her job. And that was That was terrible. The worst summer in my life. The absolute worst summer in my life. I was depressed. I was discouraged. What other cinnamons?
Synonyms.
Synonyms.
Other cinnamon buns. I was discouraged. I was depressed. I was despondent. I didn't cut my hair. I wasn't. I wasn't kept.
What hair?
Huh?
You didn't cut your what hair? Your beard? You didn't cut your beard?
I had long hair back then. I had long hair back then.
It's
Yeah.
poofy.
Poofy. I look like like it was a mullet. Party in the back. This is in the-
Party in the back. Business in the front.
yeah. But after that summer, like it was two things happened that were incredibly significant. Number one, I have never gotten as close to God as that summer. Especially, I remember reading the Psalms. Psalms brought me through that summer. I just so identify with David when he was talking about like this is crazy. Why is this happening to me? Like I would read the Psalms over and over and over. And the second thing, and I always say this, and I have it in my book, by the way, I'm a writer.
How many rejections did you get before you got a bestseller?
One of my favorite phrases that you guys have heard many times, as you heard, and Kathy has heard a lot, is that God sometimes allows temporary pain to bring permanent blessings.
That's right.
And this is the permanent blessing right here. And if it wasn't, look at all the things that God had to do, right? A rejection letter, somebody getting fired, application, somebody dropping somebody else at their job, my relationship not working out. I used to go to a different university in Texas.
That's true.
And then my dad would, started working in Pennsylvania. Like and they had this thing that if you're a pastor's kid, you can get like your tuition was reduced if you lived in that same union. So my dad's like, I know you like Texas and the school there, but over here is cheaper. So, Cuban parents do that to people. They don't care about your friendships. They don't care. All they care about is it's just cheaper over here.
You could be a loner for less money.
The program here too. And imagine all those things that had to happen. All the million conversations and votes and heartaches that had to happen for us to be together. Right? So God not only blesses us by what he provides, he blesses us by what he withholds.
Yes.
And I'm thankful for the no, even though in the moment it seems like a punch in my gut.
In my goat.
So,
I'm a writer.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree, and I see it in so many levels. You have Marlon who agrees. He says, listen, God's no, it's not just a no, right? It's I have something better, or I have something different for you, right? He never leaves us hanging. And there are times, I mean, we'll get into this a little bit more into the next question, so I'm going to hold off actually. I think what you guys said is like, it's not only once. I think sometimes we're like, okay, God's no, there's just one no, and then that's it. But in reality, like God will sometimes have several no's if you allow him back time after time after time, right back to back. And it can get super frustrating. Like, when are you going to say yes to me? But the thing is that after a no, then there's the blessing that you have so desperately desired. I think the biggest no for me came when I was a teenager. My parents, my parents both, they got a call to move to Georgia, and I did not want to go because I had just made the team for my basketball. And I was going to be, the captain, and I loved the school I was at. I loved my friends. I had just gotten a new boyfriend, and I had my car. I mean, my whole life was in front of me. I had my whole life planned out. And in the middle of my sophomore year, like in the middle of my high school career, they're going to move me. And so my coach was like, hey, you can stay with me. And I was like, really? Okay. So I asked my parents, and I said, okay, I can stay with him. Like, is that okay? And they were like, yeah. I mean, if you prayed about it, like, you pray about it and let me know what God says. Like, it's something that we will consider. And so we were like, okay, pray about it. And God said no. He said, I need you to go with your parents. Like, I need you to go to Georgia. And so we did. We went to Georgia, and it was a really lonely summer. It was really, really difficult. I picked up a lot of like the habits I have now, like curling my hair and stuff like that. But in doing that, it set me up to meet Jameel, right? A year and a half later. And so that was the biggest no for me. That was such a big blessing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard one.
Why? Because God said no a bunch.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of one. I didn't know I would have to answer this. Thought everyone else was answering it.
You don't have to answer it if you don't want.
I think for me, the biggest no that I probably got in my life was God telling me that I didn't need to continue my time on the gymnastics team.
Yeah.
That was probably, if I can think about that, that was probably like the biggest no that I've gotten, just because I spent so many years like practicing. You know, I'd practice in the summers. I went to Russian gymnastics camps. Like this was something that I put so much time into, so much time and effort, and to get that no was pretty devastating. Just because, I mean, then what do I do now? Like, you know, what gives me value now? So when I think about that, that definitely probably was like one of the biggest no's. But listening to that no, I was able to experience, you know, God's love and purpose in a way that I've never, ever experienced before.
You know what's so interesting about yours is that Jameel's no came after his yes. So like God said yes to Jameel to being on the team. He got him to Southern, got him a scholarship, got him a job, got him someone to take him to PT. Like God's no came after God's yes, which is like so confusing sometimes.
Yeah.
But the thing about God is that it's not always the destination we think. God just needs us to get one step closer to his end. His ways are higher than our ways, right? But you don't see that. You just see, you said yes to gymnastics. Now you're saying no.
Yeah.
But he's like, actually, I didn't say yes to gymnastics. I said yes to Southern.
Yeah.
I need you to be at Southern.
Yeah.
And this is the only way to get you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Krishna said, doesn't God say no to all of us at some point? And I would say yes and amen.
Yeah.
Like God isn't a good father. My parents wouldn't be good parents if they always said yes to me. I wanted some crazy stuff. And I'm grateful that they said no. And so, yeah, this is true. Like God at some point will say no to us if we give him that choice. You know, we can make the choice to be like, I don't want your input. And God will be like, he will still block things from us because he loves us. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And let me go because I keep wanting to go to this story. Here's the next question. What examples do we have in the Bible about God saying no? And what can that teach us?
Okay, I think a very familiar one for me, where God said no, is to Paul when he's praying over and over about an affliction in his flesh.
Yeah.
Some Bible scholars believe that was his mother-in-law. I'm kidding. But he had an affliction in his flesh, and he's like, over and over, I've asked for you to take this from me. And the answer has always been, you know, I'm gonna show myself in your weakness. So he never did take it from him. And I have this this thing that I read in Christianity Today. Can I share this with you guys?
I think so.
Yeah. About the ways that God answers our prayers, because when it's no, it's not only no and yes and wait. That has been the way that I've always heard it, which is no and yes and no.
Yes,
But
or wait.
there are other ways, right?
Of course.
Mhm.
Mhm. The other ways, for example, are no, not now.
Mhm.
Another way could be yes, plus here's another blessing on top of that.
Mhm. I like those yes and.
Yes, and
Yeah,
right.
we all love the
There's
yes
lots of
and.
different ways that he answers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Another one is no, I love you too much. Right? I love you too much to give you that. Another one is yes, you said yes, and you'll have to wait.
Yes, correct. Mhm.
Another one is yes,
Mm.
and I'll give you this too.
Mhm, mhm.
Another one is yes, but in a different way.
Correct.
Like I'm gonna give you what you want, but I'm gonna give it to you in a different
and
way,
not
like
the
you
way
don't
that you're
expect it.
exactly.
It's amazing how what seems to be no's is just God rearranging the schedule to bless us. How about you, Kathy? Do you think about anybody in the Bible that God said no to?
So this Bible character might not come to mind immediately, when it comes to this question in particular, but I think of Joseph. He had that dream when he was a little kid. He had both of those dreams, right? That his brothers would bow down, the sheaves would bow down, or, they were all coming, they would bow down to him. So he comes and he's thinking, hey, I'm going to be this great king, like according to these dreams that I know that God is giving me, or he felt like that God was giving him. And he was special with his special coat and all this stuff. He's like, that's going to be me.
Yeah.
But what happens? He gets the first no of like, oh yeah, really? You think that's going to be you? No, we're going to kill you. He's like, okay, this is a definite no. Yeah. This is not happening.
It's
but
like
God spares his.
It's like the opposite of blessed.
Correct. God spares his life. He gets sold into slavery, and he's thinking, okay, this is definitely another no. So he's thinking he's going to get saved. Maybe this is good news, but he ends up going and he's a slave. Yeah. All right. He's starting to go up, right? Like his boss is looking at him and saying, "You're great. You're like one of the best workers I have." He has great regard for him. He's thinking of moving up.
Yeah. So somebody else is also looking at him.
Exactly. The wife is looking at him. And so he's thinking, this could be it. And then of course it all comes tumbling down, and now he's in jail. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he's getting no after no before he even gets like for a clear yes. Mm-hmm. Wow. He helps to interpret the dream, and then he says, "I will put in a good word for you." So he's thinking that's my opportunity, but time goes by and still no. So there was no after no after no till finally he got a chance to see God say yes to him. God said yes to him in relationships that were not just like him and his love like his future wife. He also bonded and fixed and repaired the relationship with his family. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And God used him to then be able to save a whole nation.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a yes and, because it's not just for you.
Yes and it was a no, just wait for a very long time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like I'm marrying Jamel, who is a singer and a physical trainer.
And the most handsome man on the block.
It's amazing. It's amazing what God will do. And all the no's set you up for the yes.
Right. And here's the thing is that we as humans err on the side of selfishness. Okay. It's just the way we're right now because of our sinful condition. So when God says no to us, or even if he says yes, but it's delayed, then we can look at our own situation and be like, but you said yes to me, but you promised me that and you're still not coming through. You told me I was going to have a spouse. That's a desire of mine. And still I'm waiting. I'm 30 plus and I haven't gotten But here's the thing is that God's yeses and nos are not just for you. Mm-hmm. Because God is a God of everybody. And if you are someone that's devoted your life to serving God and you want to be a blessing to others around you, hey, that means that everything in your life is not just for you. It's meant to be an outpouring of God's love to people around you. So if you look at Joseph, if he would have gotten his yes right away, he would have missed the impact of what he did and what God did through him, not just for himself, but for the Egyptians and for all of the surrounding nations and his own family. And then all of the Israelites after that. Like the impact was not just for Joseph so that he could have power, right? It was God using him to multiply the impact to other people. So your yes and your no is not just for you.
Yeah, and just real quick, another example, God said no to Jesus.
Mhm.
Oh,
and
yeah. When he said, "Take this cup from me."
exactly, like
Yep.
take this cup from me. And you see the no in that, because in that story, Jesus's no is our yes. Right?
Mm,
Like in the opportunity where they can either take Barabbas or Jesus, there's another no. And in that story again, Jesus' no is Barabbas' yes. So we don't necessarily know what happened to Barabbas afterwards. But like Vanessa was saying, sometimes the no, actually a lot of times the no is not just for us.
yes, correct.
It's for the people around us. It's going to impact everyone else.
Mhm.
So that's really important. We can see in the life of Jesus.
Mhm.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
we
Well-
don't even. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that just like a little illustration. Like imagine like myself, right? And I go to your house and I wanna give you um, a brand new car. This is not happening. This is just an illustration. I want to give you a brand new car.
Make sure it's a Tesla.
You are working out, right? So I want the car to be a surprise. I want to take it to the dealer, and I'm like, Vanessa, I need for you to come with me right now, and take me somewhere. And you're working out, so I'm interrupting your workout.
This
You
is
that
not a far-fetched story.
I'm working out. I am working out. I have a physical trainer. I'm working out, but you have no idea about the surprise you're going to be on the other side. And you can just imagine God doing the same thing. It's like I can't tell you about the surprise, right? I can't tell you, but you're probably going to be upset, like man, and you'll do it because reluctant obedience. It's like, yeah, I trust you, Dad, but I'm not really happy about having to stop my workout and be all sweaty and driving out there. But when you see the car, you're like, oh my word, look what. Of course, I can work out later in the day, but when am I going to have a car, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes it seems in the moment that it's a curse, but actually a blessing. That people were left behind, disconnected from us, fell out of love. It's a blessing. If we can just see the end from the beginning, there's a Ellen White quote that says that if we could see the end from the beginning, we would choose what God has chosen for us again. If we could see at the end what was behind all the
Correct.
decisions.
Absolutely.
All right, we have 2 minutes and we have to go, but we really appreciate it.
Yeah. So before you guys leave, last question, answer just a minute each. What words of encouragement do you have for someone who has heard God's no and is discouraged? They're like, man, God keeps saying no. Where do I go from here?
In working with youth, so often, right when they're at the moment of most discouragement, is right when God is just about to, step in and give them the blessing or answer the prayer.
That is true.
And so often we give up when it gets so hard, or when we feel like, I've tried long enough, or this is too many no's, and then we give up. And we were just right there at the brink of seeing God work. And so I would just strongly encourage and, strongly, encourage you to keep hanging on with God. And the reason is because eventually, even though you're getting the no's now, eventually, like my husband just finished saying, you're going to see the end, and you're going to look back and you're going to say, it was tough, but it was worth it because of where I'm at right now. Mm-hmm. But you'll never get to that point if you quit, if you throw in the towel, if you give up on God. Mm-hmm. So I just say, hold on to God, because his promises are true, because he always comes through. He's looking out for you. And even though it seems like this is not the way you want it, or it's too difficult, or things are not working out the way you expected, eventually God is going to come through, and he's going to show you, this is why you went through this, or, this happened for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My 60 seconds, I would say this. One of the best things that you can do when you've gotten a no is to continue activities versus sitting down back and saying, I wonder what's next. I don't know what's next. I'm just going to sit here until I get the yes. Join a club, get active in your church, do get into some type of activity that the yes will find you, usually when you're working. It's interesting how that happens. It just doesn't just arrive in your house in an Amazon package. It usually finds you when you're working. So get active, and then God's going to show you his yeses.
Thank
We-
you.
Thank
We're
you
very
guys
proud
for
of
You
you
being
guys
guys.
have to
here.
go. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, it was fun, you guys. Good job. We'll be in touch. Love you.
We appreciated
All right.
your thoughts.
See you.
All right, bye.
Bye.
We are just going to continue the conversation a little bit here just for a couple minutes. I just love the insight. Exactly. I find that so many people, after they receive God's no, get their yes when they're not even looking for it.
Mhm.
Like that happens so much. I've seen that happen, like especially in relationships. Like they're actively searching for a relationship. They're trying to manipulate circumstances. Where like, okay, here it is, da da da, and then they end up having this piece of like, okay, like I'm not just gonna sit back on my couch and not do anything, but I'm gonna be active in what God has said yes to. I know God has said yes to these things. I'm gonna be active in the things that He's been said yes to, and then God brings a person or brings a situation that they were like, oh, there it was, and I wasn't even looking for it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that person who finds the treasure in the field. He was just walking in the field and stubbed his toe, and there it was, you know, in that sense.
Peter said a really good comment.
Ooh, here we go. Peter says, it's hard to hear God's voice when you've already decided what you want him to say.
Exactly. That
Oh
is
my goodness gracious.
Bars.
Dropping bars. Yo,
Bars.
Pete.
bars. And I was actually going to touch on that right after you were done.
There
And
you
then
go.
he asked that question. I was like, perfect.
Synchronicity.
Synchronicity. Perfect. We say God's no a lot in this talk, but I just want to just remind everyone, even though God can say no, we still can act on what we want to do.
Right.
It's not like God's no takes our
Autonomy.
freedom of will away.
That's right.
Like we still can go against God's no. But I think something that we have to realize is that our yes, the thing that we choose, our yes is our mess. So
That's a...
just say that again for the person in the back.
Oh no, Lord.
Our yes is our mess. So
That's right.
if it blows up in your face, do not blame God.
It's like the girl on Instagram. I'm gonna see for myself.
If
She always
it,
says that. I'm gonna see for myself.
if it blows up in your face, don't blame God, because again, we have to remember our yes is our mess. So
Yeah.
there are going to be times when God is going to say no, but we still have the freedom to be like, nah, this is a yes for
Right.
me.
Marlon's like, we're like, God, thy will be done, but I'm still gonna see for myself.
Exactly. Exactly. Like thy will be done, on things I don't care about as much, but I really care about this. I put in a lot of time and effort in this. So like, this is going to be a yes. Like, God, this is going to be a yes.
Mm.
So it's in those times when we really, really have to, again, remind ourselves, like, listen, we can go against God's no, but essentially our yes is going to be our mess. So got to sit with that.
Yeah. And here's the thing about God is that He will say no even on our behalf if we give Him permission to, though. So like the story that I wanted to mention that I keep like coming back to, but I'm like, it's not the time, is the one of Balak, right? So you have the Israelites who are moving through the desert to the promised land, and they are griping and they're complaining and they're just, this is woe is me. And oh God, this, even though God is providing all their needs in the desert, shade in the day, warmth at night, food literally right outside their door, water from rocks. I mean, they have seen miracle after miracle, and they're going through now enemy territory, and the enemy is scared. They're like, yo, I know who these people are. I've heard of their stories, and like, I don't want them messing with me. So he calls a prophet to come and curse them. And he's unable to, because God says no.
Physically unable.
Like
Yeah.
instead, and here's the thing. Instead of curses, the prophet blesses them. Right? So God's no not only does he do these things on our behalf, that we're over here, we're complaining, God, I don't understand. He is saying no on our behalf. He's blocking things that would take us out like a semi running through a house. Like he is blocking things that are not only will harm us, but instead he's giving us blessings and we are oblivious to it. So I just want to say, Lord Jesus, thank you for the times that you have said no to me that I have not even acknowledged. I will not know until I get to the kingdom.
Yeah.
And I will be like, yo, really? Like he's saying no to people who want to come after you, who are intent on ruining your life.
Yeah.
Like relationships that will destroy you from the inside out. And he's saying no on your behalf to protect you because he loves you, even though you don't deserve it. As you're sitting there complaining about him. Lord. Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah.
Do you have words of encouragement for someone who's receiving God's no?
I would say God's no helps us grow. That's the most encouragement I can give to you. God's no helps us grow, but growth is painful a lot of times. I don't know those of you who remember when you were growing as a kid, but like, you ever have like growing pain? Yeah, like the aches and stuff.
Right.
Like,
Yep, I remember.
like it would hurt some days. Like, oh my word! Like, is this what growing is like?
I just need to lay and eat.
Exactly. But like a lot of times growth is not comfortable. It can actually be painful. And God's no helps us grow. And his no is pointed. You know, it's very intentional. So he's not just going to say no to something simply because, you know, yeah, like this could be good for you, but I just don't want to say yes to it. So I'm going to say no to something just because of like my preference. Like that's
right. That's not God.
That's not God. Like if he has said no, it's because it's in your best interest for that to be a no for you. Like it's in your best interest. So just to be encouraged that, listen, man, it may be painful. It may be inconvenient. It may be difficult, but God's no helps us grow. Whether that, you know, is right in the moment where we realize like, man, like I feel like I grew from that experience, but sometimes it takes years. You can actually be bitter from God's no for years. Like, man, I put so much time and effort in that. And then God said no. And sometimes it takes years to actually see like, wait a minute, like that no was a blessing. Like I was able to experience God's mercy through God's no. Like that's pretty heavy. But sometimes it just takes time to be able to see that. So just to give some encouragement, again, God's no helps us grow.
Yeah, that's good. That's excellent. God is trustworthy, you guys. Like it's hard in our perspective and our limited hindsight and foresight to say again, like God saying no again. Like he's said no so many times. Like I've tried so many things for relationships and he continues to say no. But my encouragement to you is just going back to what we talked about earlier. The no is not just for you. And like, it's part of the deal when you've committed your life to Christ and when you said, you know what, I want to share your love. He's going to use every avenue to do that. And relationships and marriage are one of the strongest ways to do that. You have a testimony. You have a specific role that God wants you to fill, how you will bring hope and life and the gospel to people. And he can take your relationship and use it as a starting point and almost like a flicker of hope for other people. And so his no is not just for you. So if you continually feel like you're being denied, know that it's not personal. He's not against you. He's for you. He's on your side. He's fighting your battles, even if you're not even aware of it. Even in the midst of your cursing, he's fighting your battles. And he is amplifying the amount of opportunities in the future that you will make an impact for him to give glory to him with the person that he's going to pair you with. So don't get discouraged. Keep the hope and know that God is working all things out for the good. Talk to someone. Talk to God about it. He can handle it.
It's a great question.
Here Here's our question. How can you be sure a yes or no is really coming from God? How do we know what his will is for us?
That is a great question. One of the easiest answers, and you can give another answer as well. But one way to know is just from what he's given us from his word.
Yeah.
If the no agrees with what you read about God and his character in the word, then that can be an easy way to decide, man, like this is really coming from God. However, if the no goes against God's promises, it goes against his character, it goes against his word, then that's something that you really have to consider. Man, is this no? Is this yes? Is it really coming from God or not? Because I don't believe God would give us a no to confuse us. Or try and leave us in a place where, well, this goes against what you've told me in your word. So why would I say yes or no to that? So I would say God's word should definitely be the standard that, we hold up when we're trying to understand whether or not this is a yes or a no from God.
Yeah. And know that if you've given God permission, if you surrender something over to him completely, saying, God, I want to know like what you have to say, he's going to speak, and he's going to speak in a lot of different ways. I think God doesn't want, like he said, God is not a God of confusion. He's not a God of ambiguity, and he's not a God of like cloudiness. Okay.
Yeah.
So like if something is important and you want to know the answer, he's going to give you that answer, not in just one way. He's going to confirm it time and time again. Even in our moments of doubt, like you think of the fleece. Okay. It wasn't just once, but it was twice, two different ways that, and then later on, there were more miracles to support like, hey, I need you guys to go to battle. And I'm going to show you time and time again that I'm going to be with you. Right. And so look for that yes or that no in different ways, through the word of God, through your personal devotion, through what people around you are saying that have godly relationships, like your pastors or your friends or your parents or family members that like, yeah, they're tight with God. What are they saying to you about it? What songs are you listening to that are speaking the same message? God is a God of patterns. So if you see things coming up time and time again, you're like, okay, like God wants you to be obedient. He's not going to confuse you in your obedience of like, I don't really know like when or how. And I love this, what Marlon is saying too. He's saying, you're going to feel peace when you get the answer. Like you're going to get this like, okay, like I know that I'm doing the will of God. Right. And there are layers to this question. The will of God maybe is one of the topics we'll cover in the future. Like, how do you know this is the one or whatever? But that's just a little starting point for you.
Yeah. I think what you said is really important about if you've asked for it. I think sometimes we ask for things and then God answers.
And we're like,
he gave us an answer.
Ring, ring. Let me try a different
number. That we didn't like. So because we don't accept the answer, we say that we never got one. When really we did get an answer. We just didn't. We just didn't like it. So I think it's another thing that she said is really important of, did you ask for God to give you an answer? So again, the question is, how do we know whether or not this yes or no came from God? Like, did you ask for it? And do we believe that God is a God that answers prayers? That God actually talks to his children. So I think that's really important. Again, if you've asked, you should be expecting an answer.
Absolutely. So. He's gonna answer, and he's gonna be clear. Guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure to have you here. We loved engaging with you guys. You had some great comments tonight, some great questions. We really loved it. We hope it was beneficial for you and that it will kind of propel you into this new walk with God, or a continuing walk with God, where you will continue to say, okay, what else do you have to tell me about what your no means? Is it no and, no but, no instead? What else do you have to say to me? Thank you, guys. This has been Love Conversations, and we'll see you guys next time.
We'll see you. Good night.
Good.